everybody. Thank you again to Laura for having me. Quick fun fact: we actually know each other because we used to be coworkers, and it was been like a really great experience working with Junior Achievement all those times. But something that she also did share was that I also was a Junior Achievement kid as well too. I actually went through a lot of the programs through fifth grade, middle school, and then in high school where I actually created my own business, which I'll show you a little bit in a few minutes. But then also I actually got hired by Junior Achievement as well because of my experience working with the high school companies that we were building. So I definitely did not see myself to be in this position, to be honest with you. Like when I was in fifth grade, I did not think that I was going to start my own company. I just thought I was going to work for a company. But a lot of experiences have brought me to this point and kind of inspired me to be an entrepreneur today. So hopefully some of the stories that I'll share with you today is something that you might consider, think about, and if not, that's totally okay too. But I engage you, I invite you to ask questions towards the end because I'm here to be a resource. And hopefully everything I've shared with you can have some sort of thing that you can kind of relate to. So I know this sounds so pretentious. Yes, my name is Stefano. I just thought it was a really funny first line that I would put up there. The most common thing that I get is like, how do you spell Stefano? And one of my pet peeves is like when people spell with a PH, and I'm a Stefano with an F. So just to keep that in mind. But where my story really began was actually was in high school when I was really active student body president at the time. And I was involved with a lot of extracurricular activities. I'm sure some of you are part of the clubs. Keep doing at it because it was something that was really fulfilling to me, to really be part of everybody's lives and to help them and to inspire my own peers, my own classmates about the things that they can do when it comes to school. And so this was kind of like one of our projects that we did at UFAC Technical. So I went to a vocational school, a technical school. I actually went through a business program. But like there's other many programs that were going on at that school. But this was one of our projects, which was around basically around this time actually. It was about to kind of showcase the Winter Wonderland, have a snow theme for it. I was really, really excited about it to bring it out to our students, like this whole design that we did on the wall. And I even convinced like the admin and the principal, like, don't worry, this is gonna easily come off. Like we're like writing on the wall, drawing on it and everything. Next day, when they told us to take it down, I found out that it was like permanent white marker. I thought it was just like easy chalk kind of markers, but yeah, no, it wasn't the case. And unfortunately, it costed the school, and they had to kind of paint over the whole thing. And I thought that was really funny because that's an example of sometimes we come up with these ideas of things that we want to do to help people, and sometimes it just doesn't end up in that way. And I kind of want to share with you this mindset that I've had since high school and for a really long time. And for a lot of years, it's taking me to kind of define what that is. And I think the best way to phrase it is how to be a pragmatic optimist. And what does that mean? Can anyone tell me what being pragmatic means? Yes, sir.
Being practical, being realistic.
Okay, perfect. That's a great definition for that. So being practical and being realistic. And can anyone tell me what being an optimist is? Oh, that's not very good.
It's being more positive and having a more positive outlook on things.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I like to kind of subscribe to. Like we can really be realistic about the goals that we want to and think about ways that we can practically accomplish them. But it doesn't mean that we limit ourselves from really reaching like these positive or really, really great things that we can accomplish in the future. So it's a little bit of a balance that I like to play in my mind. So I'll just share some examples of that. Like again, this is one of our first day events that we had at my school. I thought it was like a really great day to have like this like photo booth area, welcoming people on the first day. And then what happened was like no one came to the photo booth, so then I got all my friends to kind of like come over and like take a picture with me on this photo booth, and eventually people joined along. But there's just so many parts of my life where there were so many moments where like I thought that was going to be the case, but it didn't really always happen the way that it turned out. But I always looked at it in the most optimistic opportunity and just kind of hit with that reality. So again, I talked a little bit about being part of junior achievement. So if you're not part of junior achievement, you should look into it. And obviously you can talk with Lauren about that. But I had one of the greatest experiences to actually work with other high school students on building their company. So this is one of the high school groups I worked with. I believe they were working on like an e-commerce store or like some sort of online shop or something like that. But this is kind of like what I do on a kind of like a voluntarily basis. I just love kind of sharing the resources and the journey that I've had and inspiring other people to think about how they can build their companies and their products. I've been an avid community builder since high school. Like, if you had met me in high school, you would know that I wouldn't be at my school all the time. I would be out there in the community. I would be in the school for sure, but I really wasn't there for like the classes. I was there for a lot of the things that happened after school. And throughout my even college years as well too, I was participating in a lot of nonprofits. Like for example, this nonprofit down here, we sent kids actually to Valley Forge to learn more about the United States Constitution and things like that. So that's up in Pennsylvania. And then obviously, I've been part of junior achievement all my life and really being sharing about those things. And so I guess what I'm trying to say about this slide here is that if you are a person that is continuously loving to help other people in the community, continue to do that. Like, don't ever be discouraged by someone who says like, oh, you're wasting your time. You just don't have free time for all these other things. Like, hey, if your calling, your passion is like volunteering and helping people, like, don't be bothered by anybody else to tell you that you shouldn't do that. Because you never know like the opportunities and the doors that will open for you because you simply wanted to be kind and to help other people. So this is just like an example of like all the hundreds of kids and people I've been able to impact and share my story with, and even probably the hundreds of kids I never will ever meet, just because I helped this group of people. And so I just wanted to just kind of share that and highlight that if you're actually going through something like that, like going through school activities and stuff like that, that's something I just want to remind you. Like I was that kid. Probably still am. But so kind of transitioning to a little bit of my personal story. Around 5.5 years ago, my family and I decided to take care of my grandma, bring her from the Philippines, and said that we wanted to be caregivers. And the reason why for that is because she is going through Alzheimer's. And if you're not familiar with Alzheimer's, that's a cognitive disease that unfortunately just affects someone's short-term memory. And basically, they just forget a lot of information all the time. And so this happened during my freshman year at Florida International University. And it was a lot of transition for me at the time. I was obviously still a freshman at FIU, but then also this thing in my life came about. And so I made a decision, a practical decision and yet an optimistic decision to think about like, what am I going to do with this situation? So ultimately, I did my first year at FIU, and I actually had to move to back home a little bit closer to Nova Southeastern, which is down in Fort Lauderdale, and basically had to reinvent myself again. Right? I was a freshman. I made some great friends, but then because of this real situation that happened to me, I had to kind of pack my things up and go back to a new school and make new friends again. And that was like just the practical decision that I had to make. But at the end of the day, I said, look, I'm in this new school. No one really probably knows me. I'm going to take the opportunity to look at some things that I could do on campus. Little did I know that in 3 months, I thought I was just going to be like this like low-key student that didn't really want to talk to people because I'm a new transfer. I ended up landing a contract with the university to actually film like their homecoming events. And so I thought I was like really, really cool. I thought I just was going to be like any other student, but to be able to find those opportunities, networking, talking to people, I was able to do that with the university. But kind of transitions back a little bit about what we're doing now. So going through my, I guess, sophomore, junior year at NSU, I had to also make a decision at the time to focus on school, but then also focus on taking care of my grandma. And that basically caused some opportunities that I could not go after. Like, for example, I actually used to work for one of the board members at Junior Achievement, and he had this like awesome like scrap metal company. I mean, I'm just basically calling it like a basic terminology for it, but he really believed in me. He hired me when I was like 20 years old. He was paying me like probably like what you shouldn't pay a 20-year-old who did not graduate yet in marketing. And I love that job. But because I had to go back to school and I knew I just did not fulfill those hours and I still had to take care of my grandma, I ended up basically leaving and just kind of focusing on that school. But around that period, that summer of 2019, I was starting to think about what if I wanted to kind of have my own business? Because the only way that I could control my time, put time to my school, put time to taking care of my grandma, my family, but then also going after my career goals was to go after entrepreneurship. And, Junior Achievement built all these years of preparation to get me to this point. And so in summer 2019, I started to look into the tech space. Anyone here interested in like building products or technology or being part of tech companies? Okay, cool. Well, guess what? Just to let you know, my background is actually in marketing. I studied marketing. I have no technical background. I don't know how to code. But I wanted to just learn about the space. I thought it was like the best way to really, really be involved in it. And again, going back to that practical and optimistic mindset, like at the time, I really wasn't studying computer science or anything like that. So what I did was I watched a bunch of YouTube videos. I learned on my own. I used no-code tools, if you're familiar with that term. I used everything I could that was available to me because I just wanted to, take control of my time. And so around my junior year, I think that was like 2019 of that semester, I looked into the space. I applied myself to this business pitch competition. It's like a local Shark Tank. And it was only for like $3,000 from the city of Hollywood. And my family at the time were like moving to a new house, and I was like alone at this new house, getting the house ready. And I saw the competition on Instagram, they were advertising it. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I had this like nonchalant idea. I literally was like writing the idea in the actual application. So I didn't even write it out. I was like, you know what? If I had an app to like match a caregiver with my grandma so that that person can take care of her so that I can go working in school, I would want that app. So I put the information into the application, not thinking like where it was going to go and end up doing. And then I get an email, weeks later that I got accepted with this idea. And I was like, now I have to actually build this app or like build this idea, not knowing that, it would lead to other opportunities then. And then we went through that program, still in school, going through that program to win that competition. And then at the end, I did win the competition. I went first place with $3,000 to start the business with. And that was in December 2019. And I said to myself, like $3,000 is not enough to develop an app. Let alone, it's just like enough to like probably register the business. But I said to myself, look, I have $3,000. Let's practically think of ways to use that money and then still have an optimistic goal about developing some sort of idea. I knew that I did not have the capital or enough money to actually do it. So I thought, what's the best way to still be involved with older adults and lifelong learners? And I said, why don't I just make a tutoring business for senior citizens on how to use technology? And it was the best way I could think at the time that could give us money. So like, for example, who here has helped like their grandparents or even their parents on how to use their phone or their technology? I know that's a very relatable thing, right? But I said to myself, like, that's the only way I could make money at the time. I couldn't make anything of myself with code or anything like that. So I thought I'd do that. And so I spent December 2019 pivoting to that idea. January of 2020, I was like registering my business. February of 2020, I was like, I'm ready. Let's do this. Like, I'm going to go out to these seniors. I'm going to go to their homes. I'm going to tutor them. They're going to know how to use technology. You want to guess what happened in March of 2020? I'm sorry.
Pandemic.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God, what the P word, right? Yes, the pandemic. Um, yes, the pandemic. And I built myself on this idea, on this journey, and this thing that I wanted to do. But then you are hit with something that you can't control, and you make that decision on whether does that stop you, does that make you, a better person, does that put you into a different path? But for me, I chose the practical way. I said, okay, if I can't tutor seniors at their homes, then I will tutor them online. And you ask yourself, like, how do you tutor seniors online if they were online in the first place? But there was ways. There were definitely ways to do it. And especially with this demographic, when they were forced as well too to learn how to use technology, I'm sure they had to come to that decision as well to say, what do I do in this moment? Do I stay disconnected from the world because I don't know how to use technology, or do I stay connected? And I think for a lot of the people that we work with, they made that decision to reinvest in themselves and to be curious about technology. And that's who we really work with when we say lifelong learners. And so, yeah, I was optimistic in 2020. It wasn't easy because I was doing school as well too. And eventually we launched Curiosity. Our first product was a platform that we matched older adults with online tech tutors. So I said to them, you know what, we have a website. If you need help on how to use technology, we'll hop on a video call, we'll match you with somebody who can help you, and you'll learn how to use technology. There was a lot of issues with that too, because then, like, how did they even get on that platform? Who do we hire? And how do you do all those things? But I kept pushing forward, even though sometimes I was telling people, like, we had tech tutors ready for you. That tech tutor was just me. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I had a whole team. I was like, but they didn't know, right? They were matching with somebody that could help them. It didn't matter. It didn't help them. And so I kept doing that and doing that. And I would use any opportunity I had in school where I would present it, pitch it at a video calling thing. I raised money through competitions and local opportunities to raise money. And so I just invested in that because I knew that this was going to be a big problem and issue for a lot of older adults. And then when the pandemic died down, a lot of senior living communities wanted to reach out to us because they wanted to engage their seniors on how to use technology. So then we started doing online classes and we started doing on-site classes. And I said to myself, oh my gosh, like, I'm tutoring now, but then I'm also doing on-site classes, that I'm also part of school, but it was something I really enjoyed and I loved. And eventually we landed a contract with one of the largest health plans in the country, which is Humana. And that gave us the opportunity to serve over 23,000 lives that go through 19 of these Miami locations. On average, each class is about 20 to 30 people who are just simply learning about technology, right? That's right there. And it was such a thrilling experience at the time because there were so many events that were happening. And fun fact, that contract took like 6 to 9 months to even land. But it was worth it to be able to do it, to go through that journey with everything that I was dealing with. And then eventually this year we launched an AI, which I will talk a little bit about that because I know that's like the biggest buzzword around here now. But basically this is what we do. And as I said, like, we have amazing lifelong learners who are just like tech curious, who just love to learn about technology. Maybe they don't have someone they have access to learn about those things. And so I thought of, like, this was a perfect thing about me growing up and wanting to provide value and helping people in the community, but then also being an entrepreneur, because sometimes that may not fit all the time, but I was able to do that with what we're doing. And so there's just some pictures that we did. So this is some TikTok videos that we did with these locations. So fun fact, we actually landed this contract because I posted a TikTok video on a LinkedIn page, on my LinkedIn page, and then that attracted somebody, and then that talked to somebody, and that caught on fire. And so every time we open up a location, we always have a party with the staff that we work with on there, and we always do some TikTok videos. So Again, I know that's pretty silly, but like obviously if you're on TikTok, it's like you gotta do something to stand out there, right? And so no one ever thinks about TikTok and senior citizens, and I thought that'd be like a really cool combination to have. So yeah, no, this was a little preview of what we're doing. But again, here's just some like awesome pictures of our amazing team members. So we're wearing the purple polos and just like some of the seniors that we worked with. Just some statistics about our reach. So again, my background's in marketing, so clearly I knew how to use social media and other things like that. So we reached a lot of users at the time. We still do. We serve a lot of people online as well too. We actually have a few locations in Hawaii actually. So it's so far on the other side, but we do have some people there. And then, as I mentioned before, some of the companies that we work with now. Oh, and then I don't know if you want to be a tech tutor, but these are just some of the things I would not be able to do like anything without my amazing team of people who are just really patient, kind, and caring, but understand like the problem that we're trying to solve, and that is helping people learn about technology. Okay, so let's talk about AI, which is I think something that you probably are all familiar with, and you might be wondering like, how are we using that, and what are we doing with it? I'm going to ask you like probably the most basic question that everyone has been asked before. Who has heard of ChatGPT? Okay, perfect. Great. If you haven't, then I mean, if you're in this class, how do you not know about ChatGPT? Okay, I'm going to ask another question, and you can answer it if you want or not. Like, who has used ChatGPT to answer their homework? Or like, proud of it too. Yeah, so just to give you guys a little timeline, ChatGPT kind of came around, I believe, last year, around later of 2022. But they've been developing this for like a while. But basically, my friend, one of my good friends, he's a software engineer. He's actually working like machine learning. He's had other startups as well too, and we were like looking around ChatGPT and thinking about like what are the use cases that we can have with it. It's obviously really a cool tool, and the immediate thing I said to him was like, wouldn't it be great like if we could make this like accessible to like seniors? Because like if you think about it, your grandparents, your parents text you questions on how to use certain things, right? But sometimes you're not available, or maybe that person doesn't actually have a grandkid or whatsoever. And so we thought the best way to use generative AI as well as kind of following this trend of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, we thought that we'd create an SMS-based digital literacy coach. And basically, it is ChatGPT on your phone, and simply your grandparents can text any questions they have, and then our coach, which we've trained, will be able to basically coach them, train them, answering their questions in a very easy to understand fashion, but also being friendly. Because we're not available all the time, but if you're able to give that something to your loved ones who's an older person, it would really help them out. And plus, they could learn on their own. So, but basically, this is a product that we created, and we're still testing out. So we have some open data and stuff like that going on. But it's really exciting because it's just something to think about. Like, all of you have access to so much knowledge and technology right now, but there's a certain population in this country that just don't have that. There's even still parts of the country that don't even have access to the internet. So if you can take what you're learning today and create a product to help other people, that's something I wish that I would like for you to take away from this. I even built it myself. Like my MVP was literally like an integration between like two different applications, and I was able to do it by myself. But then when we had to actually develop it, that's when my friend, who's a software engineer, actually started to kind of create it. So, okay, I don't know if anyone here is interested in business, or if they're like a business person here. Anyone here who's like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna throw some numbers out there just so you can understand like the scale of what we're talking about here. And I'm like, I think you can understand where I'm coming from. So I'm gonna give you like the benefit of the doubt. I'm not gonna like hold on and do like anything like this. So feel free to ask any questions about this. Okay. All right. So we have three business models. One, we have the free version, right, which is like basically texting, and then we have the paid version, which is $9.99 a month. $9.99 a month. Pretty fairly affordable. We might even go lower. And then we have like the enterprise model, which is something that we work with like the health plans or the things like that. So these are just the business models we have here. So if you start to kind of think about it, imagine like having all your parents having access to this, and they just pay like $10 a month for that. I think that's a really good opportunity business-wise. But here's another thing I would actually say. So we work with health plans or health insurance companies. And so that means that imagine all the people that have health insurance like XYZ, now they have access to this too. So that's really the goal that we're trying to have. So for example, let's say I told you that we are serving 23,000 people right now, right? All have, let's say, Humana or whatever health insurance, right? 23,000 people have that. Can anyone do the math for me as to what 23,000 times 999 is?
230,000.
Yes.
230,000.
Okay, great. Yeah, right, because it's like $10. I know it's not that hard. But imagine that 230,000 for 1 month. Do you think they're only going to pay for 1 month if this is going to be a tool that they might use for the whole year? Can anyone give me the math on that if you times that by 12?
Go ahead.
You can use a calculator, you can use GPT if you want to. I'm trying to give you an example here. Yeah. So I heard someone say it. Okay. Yeah, they're on there. Yes. So that's just for like 1 year for 23,000 people. So you see the numbers that we're playing here. That's how much we could possibly make. We're not making that right now, but I'm just giving you an idea. I'm just letting you know that there is opportunity to be made. Right? I am an entrepreneur, right? So I'm just showing you that. I also created this bar graph for you guys through ChatGPT. I created my own GPT because they have a custom thing now. Basically, so imagine if we had sold Apple AI for only $2 a month per member per month, right? That is still a lot of money to make if we only made it for $2 a month. So I'm just going to show you here just the progression, because ultimately this could really help millions of people. It's just not that 23,000 people that we work with. And so that is really exciting to me as an entrepreneur, where I can take something that I enjoy, love, and I think is so helpful for a lot of people, but then also see an opportunity to be entrepreneurial in that case. And so again, my hope that you take away from my time today is that if there's something that you're really passionate about, I'm going to move it up this way. If there's something you're really passionate about, use it, take it as an opportunity, and try to help other people with it. If you're not sure how to go about that, guess what? I have some 5 tips for you on how to actually do that. So one is start reading, or if you're listening to like podcasts or YouTube videos or interviews, start reading about those things that you're passionate about. I'm sure you already do that. Watch it on TikTok, whatever platform you'll use. Make new relationships, keep networking. This is something that I'm such a big promoter of. If you look around the room here, you might look at it and say, these are just like my classmates, my friends. But maybe one day you might work for them, or they might work for you, or you might work on a project together. Who knows? Okay, so it's a really good opportunity to think about these things. Be resourceful and find solutions to people's problems. As I mentioned before, I'm a very pragmatic, optimistic person. I'm the type of product designer, I guess, that doesn't want to add all these crazy things on it. I just want to make sure that it ends up solving a problem for somebody. And so being resourceful about that, finding funding or other ways to support it, is something that I highly encourage. Surrounding yourself with people who keep you accountable. I know that we are in a stage of our life that may be hard to find sometimes people who are the best people to be with. But always try to think about, a friend that uplifts you, supports you, that holds you accountable, because those are the types of people that are really wanting to make good changes in the world. And so that's really important. And I try to think about that all the time. And then this sounds really cliche because it sounds like the thing that you'd see on a wall, but like just be yourself. No one is asking you to be anybody else. That's a really hard job to do. And so my ask is that you be yourself, continue to be curious, continue to go after those passions, and try to find a way to help other people. So thank you very much. I'm sorry. I haven't done this before. So Lauren had mentioned that I was on Forbes 30 under 30, which was a total surprise. I did not expect to sign up for it. It was actually a selfish goal of mine like 3 years ago that I would do it, but I would never have done it if I didn't feel like I deserved it. And so I still don't feel like I deserve it because it's kind of ridiculous to be on this list. But if you're not familiar with the Forbes 30 under 30, these are like the 30 people who are under 30 years old who have quote unquote made it or are successful. For this one, this was more specifically in Miami, but it is a very weird title to have and to have kind of like go into rooms about. But I think the biggest brag that I have is to be literally in the same list as these two people. So like I'm right next to I'm an NBA player, and then you have Alex Earl. So like. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. But anyway,
We're gonna open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Selorio?
yes. Can you introduce yourself?
I'm Melville. Is your company public?
So your question is my company public? No, it's currently private.
Do you plan on going public?
I do not have any plans to go public right now. Yes.
My name is Archie. What was your biggest obstacle you faced, like technical and non-technical courses?
In starting the business or like a particular product or?
I'd say starting the business.
Okay. So your question is, what was my biggest obstacle in starting the business? Honestly, time management. Like, trying to figure out putting in like, if I want to put in time for my business or put in time for my school or put in time for like family. That was really hard. The ways that I kind of, I guess, solved that problem or the obstacle was I use a calendar or I use like a scheduling app. My friends make fun of me because I make them use like a Calendly. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's basically like I make them schedule appointments with me so they can hang out with me. I'm like, that's how dead serious I was. Like, because I was like, hey, I love you. We can watch movies, but I can only watch it from this time to that time. And then I blocked out my schedule. You know what I mean? Like I was that specific. Like I would every time my friend was like, "Hey, do you want to go out and get some boba or something?" And I was like, "Here's my link. Schedule it on my calendar." That's how I'm like notorious for that. So if you use technology to manage your time if you haven't already. So yes, sir.
My name's Kyle. Is there anything like any regrets or things you wish you would have done earlier that would have helped the process of like creating the company?
In starting my company,
Yeah.
if there was something I could have done over, basically, or like,
Yeah.
okay. I would say like in entrepreneurship, like they don't tell you this, but like there's a lot of like low points you go through, and I think people are just so caught up in this like idea of like how you ended up that no one ever sees like the trials and tribulations that you go through. Because there were definitely like highs and there were definitely lows. And sometimes you don't know whether it was because of one thing or multiple things. And I think the one thing I would have done better is to like really spend my time on like mental health and preparing myself for what that would look like as a founder. Because that is so important. That's why I say those 5 things, not because like you might need it. Those are 5 things that I needed at the time. And so, yeah, no, I definitely would spend more time on that. And I definitely did. Like I journal all the time. So if you do that, like kudos to you. But like, yeah, that's where I would spend more time on, because that could really help you in like maneuvering through all the, whether you're creating a product or starting a business or just in general, like spending time on that is really key. That's how I should.
Hi, my name is Samuel. What was your lowest point and how did you overcome it?
Wow, thanks. I just, so your question was, where did I break down and cry? When did I do that? Like 2 days ago, maybe. Let's see. No, my lowest point. Oh my gosh. Hey, I put myself on the stand here. So, my lowest point was, I think my reoccurring low points, I will say, is when there are moments where I'm 24 years old and I'm like in a room with a bunch of people who are like 2 times, 3 times my age. And you often feel like you're not supposed to be in the room, but then you were actually invited in that room in the first place. So like, duh, like you deserve to be in that room. But because of this like age difference, you can't help but think that you're not good enough for them. And so one thing I did to do that was like, I look around, I'm like, I am the youngest person in the room. I'll just like take that ownership, or like I was being brought here. So, there's a reason why I'm here in the first place. And so I would say low points like that occurred a lot. It still happens to this day. Like to me, like it's like really funny that a 24-year-old is like talking to like the CEO of so-and-so. And I'm like they're taking advice from me, and I'm like, I just like kind of read this stuff, you know what I mean? So I just find that like really funny, and so that makes me laugh and kind of removes the low point moments. But yeah, definitely feeling like you're an imposter, like you're not supposed to be there. Definitely those are like the low points for sure.
And we have time for one more question.
Okay. Nothing traumatic.
This is. Oh, okay.
I'll answer your thing quickly, then is it okay if I take that?
Okay, so you talked a lot about, or you said you were a big proponent of networking. So how did you like incorporate the people that you knew like in the past, like your current projects?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, sure. I'm gonna repeat that. So how did I incorporate the people I knew to be involved in what I do now? Because I was a good, kind person, I guess. No, but I'm serious. Like, Laura and I have known each other for a while now, and we've supported each other in a lot of other projects too before I launched my company. But but before I had my thing, like we had very deep conversations, kind conversations. Like it starts from now. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't look at a person. I don't look like
A minute.
okay.
You can finish.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't look at a person and say, I want to use them for my business, like, I just want to see what I can do to help that person. And then lastly, I just started,
So how do you find competent developers to work on what you want to have without getting your ideas and intellectual property and business model stolen?
look, anybody, that's a great question. How do I work with people that could potentially take my product and idea? That's a great idea. First of all, go ahead. If you want to copy this, go ahead. The problem is, not a lot of people will ever really execute on an idea. Right? They say that they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that, but few people will ever drive it through to the finish line. And I think at the end of the day, that makes a big mistake. So, but then also contracts and stuff. But anyway, thank you for that question. Thank you guys.